Hello,
Jen.
everybody.
Hello.
It is Marcia and Michelle, and we are back for another Ghostly Gab
And
and
random
Random
thoughts.
Thoughts.
We still need to work on that coordination.
We are not coordinated. We are not coordinated. In more ways than one, we're not coordinated.
Yeah, that's true.
So I just want to say thanks to those of you who have logged on to spend some Friday night time with us, because we know there's so many other things you can do besides hang out with Michelle and I and talk about things that we don't know anything about. This evening, our topic is on research. We're going to talk about how we research locations and that kind of thing, and maybe share some tips with you that will not only help you in your ghost hunting research, but just general research. Share us out, if you will, to folks that you think might be interested in the topic, or in just a couple of gals talking about things they don't know anything about. As always, I want to say thank you to our military. Without you, we couldn't do what we do. And I understand the sacrifice. And we just celebrated Memorial Day, as you know, and that, of course, is for honoring those that we have lost
and gave
that
all.
served. It is not about having a 3-day weekend. I just want to say that. But anyway, from the bottom of our heart, thank you. I know we've got several military groups. I don't want to call them platoons because, gosh, that might be the wrong branch of the service. But anyway, we've got several military groups following us, and just know that we think about you often. The other thing I want to mention, Sunday will be the 1-year anniversary since we lost our dear friend, Deb Hill. She was a very, very big part of our team. We miss her every day. And if you will, just say a little prayer for the family. They are coping, as are we, as best we can. She's left a big, big hole in our group. And like I said, we miss her every day. So if you will, just keep us in your thoughts on Sunday as we approach that 1-year anniversary. I do want to share with you also something. We got another gift for the Boo team. This time it's from my granddaughter. Now, I want to show this to you, and I want you all to know that she did this freehand. She's very, very talented. This is not paint by number. This is not a coloring book page. She drew this and sent it to the Boo team. Da, 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 da. What do you think of that? Isn't that
looks
cool?
Great?
Yeah. So anyway, that's a picture that will hang in the Boo-mobile.
Oh, one last thing.
Yes.
National Donut Day. Did you get a donut?
Well, I had 2 pieces of coffee cake. Does that count?
Nope, it's not a donut.
I did not get a donut. No one brought me a donut.
I didn't either. So
no.
But for those of you that
did you get them? Those of you watching us, did you get a donut for National Donut Day? I like apple fritters, actually, and that little store up in Jeff City has the best. I want to say Schulte's. Is that right? Is that the one that's on Southwest and Sea Road?
Yes.
Or not Schnucks, because I get Schnucks confused all the time. So hello to everyone that has joined us. I see Wendy's on, and Bev and Linda, Rodney, Sean. Hello to all of you. And did I mention that I have rounded up Rodney to do the lightning round again?
He's such a good sport.
You are such a good sport, Rodney. And these questions that we've come up with are designed just for you. For you.
True statement.
So I will be calling you here towards the end. Let's talk a little bit about our May trip. Michelle, okay. Just briefly, if you'll just give a brief recap.
Brief recap.
7
days, 8 days, 2 days of driving, 6 hunts, sore backs, sore knees, a lot of stairs, and a lot of bats.
That pretty much says it.
2 states.
That pretty much says it.
That's pretty much everything right there.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for the evidence.
Absolutely. We've got a lot to review. We did spend some time with our favorite tour guide, One of our favorites, not.
I was like, one
but
of
some
them.
of there's lots of you that are our favorite. But Timmy was with us. Tim Murphy was with us for 4 days because Dan owns 4 of the properties that we went to, and Tim is the caretaker. So he was with us for 4 days. He actually, folks, cooked for us at Randolph County.
Did.
He grilled hamburgers and hot dogs. They were fabulous. Fabulous.
Anytime somebody else cooks, it's fabulous.
Yes. Told a couple of off-color jokes.
Surprise.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was.
We did encounter a lot of bats on this trip, though. We really did, more so than usual. I did see a full-bodied apparition in Randolph County in the basement. Scared the crap out of me, I'm here to say.
But she did not run?
I froze.
Yeah, that's true.
I froze. Yeah, that's how scared I was. I literally dropped my flashlight and just froze. Not that I would run again, because my therapy's almost up for my leg. But let's see what else happened. May trip. Okay.
We got to have all the team members together for the most part.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
We had everybody together at one point or another.
Yep.
And,
strung out through. We sure did. We sure did.
Reconnected, had a good time.
Yeah, it's always fun when we're all together. Let's see. I think that's about it. Again, our topic this evening is research. And Michelle and I talk about this a lot because I do the research for the locations that we go to.
I don't.
Yeah, but you ask me a lot of questions. And it's like, did you find this? Did you find that? And I'm like, well, crap, Michelle. Here, let me show you how to do this. So anyway, what I want to share with you all tonight is how we do it. And, maybe it'll help you, maybe not. Maybe you don't care. I don't know. So,
but even just the resources that are available.
Oh, and there are tons. There are tons. And I don't think people realize that. And particularly some of the people in our hobby. I know. Okay, so let me just start by saying that you cannot believe everything on the internet. I know.
What?
I know that's hard to believe. I know that it's hard to believe.
Shattered.
But you can't believe everything. And you have to dig a little bit deeper. And sometimes on these haunted locations, things are not really the way we're told they are.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. I mean, the cold hard truth of it is that some folks are in this just to make money. They say their location is haunted. There isn't anything there, but they put that out there. And then more and more people repeat that until pretty soon people start believing it. Because if you hear it enough, you believe it. And I have a couple of examples too of things that we have found that is not exactly the way everybody thinks it is.
Well,
but anyway,
and that's how folklore gets started as well.
Well, I think there's some truth to folklore. There's some grain of truth.
Yeah, I can go with that.
They may embellish it, but some of these locations, and one in particular that's come into my mind, it's just like the story just doesn't make sense to me. So how can this be?
Right.
And, last year I challenged all of you guys to ask that question. How is this and why and all of that? But
you also said, don't take everything at face value. Do the research.
No, absolutely.
So now we're going to talk about how to do the research.
Absolutely. So I do a lot of research via the internet, obviously, because that's easier nowadays. Back in the old days, I used to have to make phone calls, but now I can look everything up. So it's a whole lot easier. When you're doing research for a location, you want to use multiple search engines. Don't just Google it, because Google's going to give you Google is a strong, intuitive search engine, but they're going to give you the most popular and the most authoritative, so to speak, returns, but it's only from their own database, right? You also...
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but also you have to really pay attention when you are looking at those search engines, because the ads are first.
Absolutely.
And so don't get distracted by the ads thinking that it's true. That's one
Right.
thing I've learned.
Yeah. You want to scroll on down. But, not only is there Google, but of course there's Bing. We know Bing is another one. They're going to search their own stuff. Yahoo is actually powered by Bing, but they search still yet a third group. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with Dogpile. But Dogpile is a search engine that searches Google, Bing, and Yahoo all together. So that will save you a little bit of time. Let me just scroll on down here in the comments. So think about that. So when you're doing your research on the internet, because it's just easy to do it on the internet, make sure you use multiple search engines. The other thing that you have to pay attention to are the sites that you are getting your information from. Now, when we're talking about haunted locations and you search, and I'm just going to throw this out there, it doesn't mean anything, but let's say haunted Randolph County Infirmary, right? You're going to have tons of returns from people that have visited there or other teams, and you're going to read, if you read 3 or 4 or 5 of them, they pretty much all say the same thing. Somebody says something, then somebody else either rephrases it or just copies it outright and says the same thing. So remember that .com sites, those are commercial sites. So even when you go to our website, which happens to be justsayBoo.com, the information out there is as accurate as I can get it. But that doesn't mean that my source wasn't wrong, So just because I've put it out there doesn't mean that it's gospel unless I have primary sources. And those primary sources, which is what I look to mainly, I use a lot of newspapers.com. I search that site a lot, and ancestry.com. Now, the thing about newspapers.com, generally speaking, not all the time, but generally speaking, the newspaper articles are pretty close to what really happened as the writer saw it, because they were written at the time. So, when I'm searching articles, like when we did Randolph County Infirmary, for example, and I pull up articles from the 1890s and the 1900s, and it talks about life at the infirmary and stuff like that, that's a primary source, and that information is going to be pretty accurate. Ancestry.com, you have to kind of watch that a little bit. That's where I search for people if we have a name. And I'm going to use Randolph County Infirmary again because Doris Addington, the story we were told is that Doris Addington was a patient at the infirmary. She came when she was 11. She was dropped off because she was kicked in the head by a mule, and her sisters just dropped her on the doorstep, and she lived there into her 70s, right? So that's the story. So I used Ancestry.com to try to find her, to see if anybody had her in their family tree. If you're looking at a family tree, you got to take that with a grain of salt. But what's good about that, the family trees, is a lot of times they cite sources like census records, birth records, primary documents, where you can actually verify what these people are writing down. And between Ancestry and newspapers.com, what we actually found out about Doris Addington, which even the owners were not aware of because they believed this story, Doris didn't come to Randolph County Infirmary until she was 21 years old, because she was actually in an infirmary in Indianapolis, right? So she did not come to Randolph County Infirmary at the age of 11. She came at the age of 21, and she came there because her father was also a patient at Randolph County Infirmary. Now, she did live there into her 70s, but she didn't get kicked in the head by a mule. Her sisters didn't drop her on the Randolph County Infirmary doorstep. So we were able to clarify some of that information.
And just to kind of piggyback on that is when sharing that information, because there were sites that, you were able to give them specific information, they were like, oh, this is great because we want to make sure that we're sharing the correct history as well. So that actually helps the location as well.
Yes, for the locations that are legitimately interested in the history.
Correct.
Let me put it that way. But yes, I mean, they were very appreciative of what we found, and they wanted the documents so that they could then try to dispel some of this stuff that's been going around.
Right.
Wikipedia is another one that I use, but now I do not consider Wikipedia a reputable source because it's community written. But a lot of times what you find on there at the bottom, if you look, are the resources, and people will cite where they got the information, which may be historical documents or it may be archives. It could be something like that. So that gives you another clue where to go a little bit further. Something else that I check a lot is if it's on the historic register, I pull the historic register file. I mean, they're open to the public. All the documents are there. It tells why they're on the historic register. It tells about the history. A lot of times it also has not blueprints, but floor plans. And a lot of times too, it has vintage pictures. So you can see what it looked like, originally versus what it looks like today. So I do use the historical register files a lot. Something else that I use a lot are university databases, state archives, and of course the National Archives. I search those as well. I do use the local historical societies, but remember that their information is only as good as where they got it from. So we have worked with historical societies that really, really research their stuff. Then we've worked with other historical societies that just take the word of Joe Schmo on the street that, this building was built in 1800 and, these murders took place and whatever. So again, you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt, find out who their sources are. But the legitimate historical societies, the one that really do historical research, they are a gem of information. Now, Michelle, I know you might have a question or two about what I just said, because I can see the wheels turning. And if anybody else has any questions, just throw it in there, throw it in the chat. And I apologize, my nose is running. It's allergies.
Well, and all I was going to say is I find it very interesting because especially since, we take these hours upon hours long road trips, I just pick her brain because why should both of us do the research? Because we're probably looking at the same stuff. But it also helps recall, and for both of us, because then, we're always talking about what's the story? Why are we going there? What are we trying to find out? And it helps us ask those questions. And it helps us formulate how we're going to approach whomever or whatever we may find. Because that way we're not relying on that tour guide that may or may not have the information. So that's the nice thing about Marcia doing all that work.
I want to know why it's haunted, why somebody thinks it's haunted. And, when I ask that question of our tour guides, which, I do all the time, why do you think the place is haunted? What makes you think that? For them to say, well, I hear footsteps all the time. Well, to me, that's not a reason. I'm looking for the history. What is the history of the place? And, Michelle, you and I have been to places where they couldn't tell us the history.
Correct.
All they could tell us was the paranormal claims.
Right. Well, and the other part of that is because, so much is destroyed in the name of progress. And to see some of these buildings that are being restored, that are being kept in as best condition as possible, being able to see that firsthand and realize, oh my gosh, look at this. This is wonderful. Or we've gotten to some locations where we've looked at the building and gone, something's not right here. There's something off. And for those of you that have been following us for a while, you'll know, there was a floor plan that Marcia and I debated the whole way home, and she did the research and she found the information that said, yep, this was the original. Then they added this, then they added this. And it's like, all right, that validated our suspicions, our thoughts. So, and that's always satisfying, is to realize that, we've been doing this enough to realize something's not quite right. We really need to follow through. And since this hobby is so much about finding some truth and using the research to, verify and validate. Okay, I'm done.
No, I mean, you're right on. You're right on, because, I want to know the history of the place. I want to know why it might be haunted, who we might encounter there. And when I do the search, because that's the other thing, guys, you need to know kind of what you're looking for.
Right.
So when I, like not the Randolph County Infirmary, the place you were talking about with the staircase,
right.
Fairfield Infirmary.
Yep.
I wanted to know who lived there. Who were the caretakers? How long were they there? How did they run the place? So when I check out like newspapers.com, not only did I search for like Fairfield County Infirmary, but it could have been called a poorhouse. It could have been called a county home. I'll get to a couple of those tips here in a minute. I also search by the address, because sometimes in newspaper articles, they don't call it by name. They just say, there was a murder committed at, 515 Main Street or whatever. And they never give the actual name of the location. So that's something else to think about when you're searching for something. Don't just use the name. Use the location. Or if you have, like in the case of these infirmaries that had superintendents and overseers and stuff like that, search their names. Yep. See what comes up about them. Because as a matter of fact, that actually brings us to one of the things that we were able to prove incorrect about some of the stories that we were told. And that was about Fairfield County Infirmary, because we were told that one of the caretakers physically abused the patients out in the field, beat them out in the field. People saw it, right? Well, sure enough, there was a newspaper article about it, because Michelle found it, that, this caretaker was seen beating these people in the field and blah, blah, blah. So I dug a little bit deeper, and what I found out was the next week in the paper, that article was rescinded, because it wasn't really an article. It was an opinion written by someone who had a grudge against this particular individual. And the newspaper rescinded it.
Yep.
So, it was said that he did these things, but it turned out that he really didn't do these things. But that piece of the puzzle was never brought forward. So,
any questions from anybody out there?
Yeah,
because this research thing doesn't just necessarily pertain to ghost hunting. It can be anything that you're researching.
Anything that you're looking for. Anything that you're
a new house. The location, what's been there before, make sure there's no graveyards, anything.
Anything like that. I do want to tell you too, a couple of research tools, I guess, or sites. Maybe sites is a better word. Don't forget, when you're looking around and you use Google and Bing and whatever, and I'm just going to use Google as, well, when I refer to Google, I'm talking about all search engines, not just Google, but there's also Google Books, which actually is Google Books. And you can search, you search for Google Books, and then a little search engine thing comes up. And what I've been able to find in Google Books is a lot of old documentation about, if the facility is very old, if it's a facility, first of all, a lot of times the annual reports will be there that state, who was in charge, what the condition was, what kind of, how many patients were there, things like that. So when you're looking for an infirmary or a poorhouse or a hospital or any kind of a facility, Google Books is really helpful. We just went to the Broadwell Funeral Home. We didn't have any information about the Broadwell Funeral Home. I did search Google Books and was able to find out at least the name of a couple of the older funeral directors. So that gave me a place to start kind of researching the history on the place. So don't forget Google Books. Now, and I'll just say this briefly because we're already 30 minutes in, good Lord.
Yep.
I do want to give you a couple of search tips that you may or may not know. And like Michelle said, this pertains to anything you're looking for on the internet, not just goes to anything you're looking for. So there's what they call Boolean search terms. I don't know how many of you know what that means, but that refers to the words and, or, and not. Okay. So when you use and, or not, that tells the search engine what to do. So example, and again, I'm just going to use Google, but it works on all search engines. So if I put down, for example, county infirmary, Google automatically is going to search for both of those, right? It's going to look, yeah, separately. It's going to look for county. It's going to look for infirmary. If you use the word or, and it's got to be capitalized, right? If you use the word or capitalized, it recognizes it. It will then recognize just the two search terms like infirmary or poor farm. So it's going to look for infirmary or poor farm, right? It's going to look for both of them. If you use not, which actually is you can use the minus sign, that's to exclude items. So for example, if I know for sure it was only called an infirmary, or I only want to search for the point where it was an infirmary and not a poor farm, I would type in infirmary and then the minus sign poor farm. So it would search for infirmary, but it would not search for anything that had poor farm in it. Does that make sense? Okay. You want to use quotes to find words in a document that are an exact phrase. So if I'm looking for Randolph County Infirmary specifically, I'm going to put that in quotes. So it will only return those results that have Randolph County Infirmary in it. It's not going to find things that's got Randolph County or Infirmary. It's going to have that string of words. So quotes are your friend. Quotes are your friend. And you also want to exclude unnecessary words because the search engines are pretty intuitive. So instead of searching, did Doris Addington live at Randolph County Infirmary? I could simply search for Doris Addington Infirmary. And it will pull up everything that's got Doris Addington in the infirmary. And if I put Doris Addington in quotes and infirmary in quotes, then it might pull two different things. Got it? All right. The other thing too is that the search engines do not automatically search for the plural of a word. So if I type in like suicide at Randolph County Infirmary, if the article has suicides at Randolph County, the search engine's not going to find it because it's not automatically going to pull the plural of the word. Sometimes it does, but it doesn't automatically do that. The search engines also, they ignore common words such as how, this, where, so they already just automatically kick those out.
But Marcia, can I clarify something real quick?
You can.
If you put the word suicide in quotes and in an article it actually has suicides, it may pick that up as well because it found the entire word of suicide together.
Yes, but it may not necessarily pick up
Right.
if an article has the plural suicides, it may not pick it up. So you may skip something if they're talking about multiple suicides at a location. You may miss that entirely if you use the singular of the word. And then, of course, there's always the wild card, right, which is the asterisk. So if I were to type in like R asterisk infirmary, the search engines are going to search for all the infirmaries that start with the letter R. So that is your friend. Wild cards are your friend.
And
Now-
while you're looking,
Yeah.
Rodney, you made a good comment there about the county auditor and recorder's offices could be helpful about previous uses of a property. Another location would be your title companies. If some of them have their older maps and such, some of them do allow if you ask them to go in and take a peek at them. And then there's Linda's message there or comment.
But yes, I agree with all of that. But sometimes I can't physically get to the location.
Right.
So if I have enough time and can call, like I called the Claremont County Historical Society and asked for some information on the funeral home. I do that. Some of the counties have their stuff online, but some of it you have to be there in person or get somebody to look it up for you. Let's see. What else do I want to say about that? So when you're searching, and I found this, I have found this several times. You have to be open to unexpected results. Because just because you think you know the story, because everybody says that's the story, sometimes that's not the story. And we have found that several times. So you need to be open to whatever you're finding, because you're not going into your research with all of the answers. Otherwise, you wouldn't be researching it. You're going into your research with the questions. And the questions we ask is, who lived there? How long did they live there? Why do they no longer live there? Was there anything that happened on the property that was tragic or not?
Or significant.
Yeah, anything of significance. Now, another thing that we were able to, through the research, we were able to clarify was at the Stone Mansion. If you look at some of the sites out there, not the Stone Mansion site itself, because they didn't actually have this on there, but some of the other groups that have visited, they talk about how General Stone he left his wife, when he died, he left his wife out in the cold, didn't leave her anything, left everything to the nieces and nephews, and the wife had to go to auction and buy it back and all of that. We were able to show, because we found his will, that was not the case. He left part of his estate to his wife, the home itself and several acres. Yeah, he left stuff to the nieces and nephews too, but he did not exclude his wife. And when I think it was Carrie was our tour guide that night that was telling us about the history, and she started talking about that, and I said, "Oh, let me tell you what I found." She was ecstatic because that was true, and she knew it to be true. And she's like, we are trying to tell people that the story out there that he just left his wife high and dry, and that's why the house is haunted, and that's why she's here, and all of that isn't true. So, yeah. Be open to the unexpected.
Speaking of unexpected, I'm sorry, I shouldn't do that.
Go right ahead.
How are we doing? Are you wrapping up your research topic? I'm excited about Wednesday night. I want to say unexpected and share the news.
So you want me to shut up? Okay. I want to say hey to Vicky, who's watching from Fortuna. Thanks for joining in. Okay. So Michelle's telling me it's time to wrap it up. So that's what I know about research. So if anybody's got any questions, comments, thoughts, just let me know. There's a lot to it. Don't believe everything you read on the internet. Look at what your sources are. Get the original documentation if you can. That's the story. That's the story. Okay. Let me get my notes out here, make sure I don't miss anything. But Michelle wants to hop in with something about Wednesday night. Hop in. What do you want to say about Wednesday night?
Okay, so unexpected Wednesday night, Marcia and I, featuring Midwest Ghost Hunters, we were actually on a radio show. We were asked to participate as a guest on the radio, the Calling Show radio, the Calling radio show. Did I get that right? Kimberly, I
course you
saw
got
you
that right.
online. I saw you on there. Did I get that right? So, but yes, it was very fun, very exciting, but unexpected. We actually got the question while we were on vacation for that week. So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah,
And,
it's on the Para X radio network.
yes.
And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. We talked about a lot of things.
Yes. Unexpected.
Yeah, it was. It was very unexpected, very unexpected. But they just wanted to know what the group was up to and where we're off to next and what our thoughts were on some things. And we always have an opinion.
Absolutely. And that hour flew by.
Oh my gosh, yes.
The cool thing is once they've got it all wrapped up and ready, they're going to send us a link so we can share it on the website. So we're pretty excited about that.
Yeah, because that's a national radio show. That's our first national. We've done some podcasts. We've been guests on some podcasts, but that's our first national radio show. But Linda, in response to your question, was it recorded? You can go out to the paraxradionetwork.com, and it's going to be out there somewhere in their archives. And the show that we were on was called The Calling. So that's where you're going to find it. But yeah, we talked we were on air for an hour.
Yeah.
We talked 30 minutes before we got on air. And then we talked 30 minutes after we were off the air. So
but it was a lot of fun
for 2 hours, and it was a lot of fun. And they are also members of teams.
Yep.
2 of them were in Minnesota, and then Willow, our friend, is in New Orleans. And we talked about all things paranormal. It was great. All right.
So.
Anything else you want to share about our comings and goings?
Nope.
Okay.
No,
All right.
I can't think of anything else.
All right. But I will, as soon as they're going to send me a link, and they're going to send me a copy of the recorded version too. So I'll make sure that it's out there on our website and on our Facebook page too, because it was a lot of fun. And they've invited us back. Imagine that.
Right? We didn't do anything horribly wrong.
No. They've asked us to come back, and the next time we go back, they've asked us to share some of our evidence, some of the things that we've captured. I don't know how that's going to work on a radio station, but
we'll see.
I guess they know what they're doing. As far as stuff coming up, next weekend, we are going to go to the Rock Island Depot in Cedar Rapids. Our friends from Iowa, Dawn and Christy, are going to join us. Michelle is going to roll up there with me. We're pretty excited about that. Kat will be our tour guide again. She was our tour guide at the Squirrel Cage Jail. She's a lot of fun. And Michelle, pull up our social media when you get a second there.
I can do that.
And we'll talk about the social media. But I am going to take, folks, I am going to take just a little time off. I injured my leg. I actually broke my foot back in December of 2019. And then, 9 months later, when I ran through the halls of Randolph County Infirmary, that kind of aggravated it. And I've been in physical therapy for months. That's what happens, I guess, when you get a couple of years on you. But anyway, I need to take some time off and get this leg healed up. So we are going to take a short break here in the summer. Probably, after the June hunt, we're probably not going to hunt again until September. So just be aware of that. But, we'll still be doing things. All right. So let's talk about our social media, where you can find us. JustSayBoo.com. That's where we've got some of our evidence. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Library, and MeWe as Midwest Ghost Hunters. And of course, we're on Facebook as Just Say Boo. So, all right. Rodney, are you ready? I think we're lightning round time, aren't we, Michelle? Do we have anything else?
And I think that's about everything. Again, thank you for everybody tuning in. And Marsha, I gave you all the questions.
Okay, Rodney, I'm going to call you here just in a second, as soon as I find your number.
And
I
again,
just wanted to tell all the rest of you that, a lot of you guys, I do have your number because you have either sent me a message or, something. So Rodney got you off the hook this time. But next month, whoever's in my phone, I'm calling you.
all right. Rodney says he's ready.
All right. I got a lot of contacts in my phone.
While she's looking for her contact, again, thank Blair for the lovely picture. She did an awesome job.
Yeah, she's pretty talented. Pretty
Yes.
talented.
Wendy, this means you next month. So be
Yeah.
scared. Be very afraid.
And if you don't log on, that doesn't matter. I'm still going to call you. I got your number. Okay, Rodney, here we go. Maybe.
Oh, there he goes.
There we go.
Hi, Marcia.
Hello, Rodney.
Hey, Rodney.
We have prepared these just for you.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And remember, it's a lightning round. So it's
Not
like
a Marcia round.
Yeah, so it's like first thought. Oh, and I see that Sean says, "Bring it on." Okay, Sean, baby, you're next month.
Oh,
Wendy,
we
you're
got you off
you're
the
off
hook
the hook again. And the same thing applies to you, Sean. It doesn't matter if you're watching or not. I'm calling you. Okay. Are you ready, Rod?
I believe I am, yes.
Okay. How's Judy, by the way?
Really?
She is recovering. She's actually recuperating over at my sister's house in northern Kentucky. She says, I have to be away from you because you followed me around too much.
Yeah. She's a fine woman. She's a fine woman, Rodney.
I don't want her to do something she's not supposed to do. She's put up with me for the last going on 36 years now. So I figured, she might keep me for a little bit longer. I don't know. So when she gets aggravated with me, she says, "Why did I marry you?" And I tell her it's because I said yes.
Judy's a saint. That's all I can say. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah. Okay.
All right, here we go. And those of you at home watching, get your fingers ready. Lemonade or sweet tea?
Sweet tea.
Law enforcement or fire department?
Law enforcement.
I thought you'd enjoy that one.
Yeah.
Ice cream cone or ice cream sundae?
Ice cream sundae.
Swimming pool or lake?
Swimming pool.
Swim trunks or no?
No.
Hot dogs or hamburgers?
Hamburger.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
UFOs or Bigfoot?
Bigfoot.
All right. Another great job, Rod. Thank you, dear.
You're welcome.
All right.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I didn't see any comments come up. Did I talk too fast for you guys? You didn't get the questions? Okay. Anything else we need to talk about before we wrap this up?
Our next Ghostly Gab is going to be, I had it up earlier.
What do you want us to talk about on the next Ghostly Gab? I was thinking about like near-death experiences or something. Not that I know anything about that either, but
July 2nd. Wendy, that's the only one that you answered was no trunks, really?
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I was thinking about maybe doing near-death experiences or something. And, if you have a near-death experience, does that make you more in tune? Rodney, that's more information than we need to know. I'm just saying. But does it make you more spiritually in tune if you've had a near-death experience? Or do you guys want us to talk about something else? I don't know. If you have a thought, send me a message. because we're always up to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Yeah, Linda, I think that was a near-death experience.
Oh, good.
You rivaled Bev at Liberty School. Okay, so before we go, Linda, I'm sorry I'm going to have to do this to you.
She started it.
Yeah, you started this. So I just want to ask you all to give me your opinion. And you can just say yes or no. When you are in the intersection, you have crossed over the stop bar and the light turns yellow, do you stop?
No.
Or do you blow through the light?
Blow through the light. You're in the lane. That's my answer. Guess what Linda's answer was? Not.
Yes. Yes, Linda stopped. Linda stopped. She was past, and she was cruising. I mean, it's not like she was doing 25, you know?
It's going.
She was cruising through past the stop bar. Well,
Yes, you were.
Linda, you were in the intersection, honey. From where Michelle and I, you know, from where we were sitting, I don't even think we were at the stop bar. We were in the passenger. We were in the back seat. I think we had passed the stop bar.
I think the people that were at the stoplight to the right of us even looked at her like, why'd you stop?
But yeah, Sean, I agree. Keep going. Get out of the way. She was already going like, I don't know, 60, you know? It was like, so, oh, I'm sorry. That was probably came
That
across
was
really
really
loud.
loud.
Okay, so maybe the tires didn't squeal, but in my head they squealed. So anyway, yes, Linda, you caused us to have a near-death experience. But we'll still let you drive us before we let Bev drive us. So anyway, guys, again, if you will, keep us all in your thoughts and prayers on Sunday as we celebrate, or remember, I should say, not celebrate, but remember the 1-year anniversary of Deb's passing, and we think about her all the time. And yeah, just keep an outlook on Facebook for us, because we will still be doing a lot of things, even though I'm trying to recuperate my leg. So I guess until next time, just say do.